in there because I had to find a way how to put it in a specific order and how we're going to get the message across. But I'm going to bring something to the table for you guys today. And it's not just some fan theory. I think there might be some validity to it. And I've thought about it before, and I've had a friend that has told me about it as well. The history in the chronology that we have today, like where Adam was born in 4004 AD, then you have like 1,000 years later, 1656, you have Noah's flood, and then you have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob show up on the scene about 1,000 years later. Moses is showing up around 1200 BC. Next thing you know, Jesus shows up around 1 AD. All right. That's the chronology that we have when it comes to the biblical narrative that we've been told. Okay. But that's
Time's been interrupted, isn't it? The time's been infiltrated.
I think so. I've been looking into some alternate timeline histories. And
You got to do a chart lot and post it on Facebook at some point, wouldn't you?
I don't have a chart yet. Let's put it that way. I'm still trying to work out the kinks out of this thing. All right.
It's confusing as it is for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really something because what I think happened was I think the people of Tartara, they play in some type of zone within this. I'm going to tell you why. I was looking through paintings of Renaissance people, and I was looking at some of the history that they have and how the Spanish Inquisition, when it occurred, it was the golden age of the Jews, and you got all this stuff going on. There was a rabbi, he wrote the first Hebrew dictionary around the time of the Dark Ages. All right. That doesn't make any sense. If Hebrew was around 3,000 to 4,000 years before then, you would think someone would have came up with the idea of a dictionary way before then. But considering that he was the first one to do it, and then not only that, the Hebrew tongue and language is actually newer. If you actually look at the linguistical style, because it has Yiddish in there, it has Russian, it has a little bit of Arabic. You can start
confusion of language. It's confusing.
It's confusing. Exactly. It's almost like the language was created to make it look like these people were a part of something that was completely different from the Roman Empire and the civilizations.
You think that might have to do with the Tower of Babel?
I think it has to do.
God confused the language of people, because that would have made sense.
I'm going to tell you something, and I'm not saying I believe it, all right? But I'm saying that I think it's worthy to look into. Actually, before we get into all this, it's 10:07 right now. Missy, how was your week?
It's good. It's really good. Yours is going good?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm trying to puzzle a couple of things in here, like I said. I did that trailer yesterday. I've been focusing on my music, and my work has gotten a lot better. Let's put it this way, my work life. So, but yeah, I'm trying to figure all of this out because there's a lot of validity to it. There really is. Digging into the history, everything, you start to realize that we are literally living in the twilight zone, or the upside down, or hell. Huh?
Do you think that the languages, like you were saying, it has Yiddish and da-da-da in it, do you not think that they could have stemmed from Hebrew?
No, because there was actually a professor around the 1900s. He actually came up with the idea of modern Hebrew, and he's accredited as the father of modern Hebrew. What's fascinating is that if we look at the Hebrew language, it goes back to the Chaldean tongue. And we can see this in Daniel chapter 1, verse 4. All right. In Daniel 1, verse 4, it says that while in Babylon, They taught the Chaldean tongue. They took the Chaldean tongue with them back to the times of Jesus because the Chaldean tongue is coming from Samaria. All right. It's coming from that place of Mesopotamia where Enki and Enlil was set up, all of these things. They try to sit there and say that there was a separation between these gods of the Sumerians, the Babylonians, and the Akkadians. It's a repackaged idea. That's all it is. It's all the same thing going on here. It's a confusion of the language of the tongue. English, the language of English, actually comes from a man named I think his name is Francis Engels. I know
Angles.
you Angles, angels. There you go, angels. The language of English, or the Engelmen, is actually the language of the angels. All right. America, we've talked about this. There's 50 states. The word Marduk, who is a container for the 50 gods of Babylon, his name comes from the etymology of the word Amaru. Amaru is actually the entwined serpent. What the heck is that?
The tower card. Why are you pulling the tower card?
Oh, it's just the tower. It's about the fall
Yeah.
because you mentioned upside down world. So
Yeah, I think this tower is. By the way, I think these were castles as well. All right. I think that we're getting this land etymology wrong, and I think we're getting the locations wrong, and I think that we're dealing with like castles and fortresses and things that we would see like in medieval dark age time periods. It's really weird what is going on. But if the timeline is different than what we've been told, it starts to make a lot of sense. All right. For instance, Abram was a Hebrew. Okay. If you look up the etymology of the word Hebrew, it's the word ivory. All right. Ivories come from the Iberian Peninsula of Spain and Italy. All right. But also, the word Iberian is actually the word Irishman or Ireland. All right. It's weird what's going on here. It's almost like they expanded their territory in the Western countries, the European countries, in other words, and they tried to take the focus off of the Middle East, or take it off of that and put it on the Middle East. Sorry. And
because like Ireland, Isis, land, the goddess land, the motherland.
Iceland, yeah. Well, Norse, the Norse were in Iceland, right?
Yeah, because they say that Jesus was born in Eastern countries, but he wasn't. He was born in European countries, if that's the case.
Exactly.
The Arab language came from the European countries, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where all the birth narrative and all the pagan mythology came from, was the Western
Well,
and given to the Eastern.
So here's the thing about this. Okay, when we begin to look at this, all right, I'm trying to really slow down here. Okay, when we look at this, all right, we start to realize something's going on. Let's go to Luke chapter 1, actually. I think it's Luke chapter 1. If I'm not mistaken. Let's go to the biblical narrative, okay? Because I'm going to give you guys an alternate timeline, and I want you guys to really think about this, okay? This doesn't mean you have to believe it, but we just got done saying that the Hebrew was not around during the days of Jesus. It was a Chaldean tongue, but the Chaldean tongue actually stems back to Samaria. Okay.
I already thought like Jesus spoke Aramaic language.
Right, exact. But here's the crazy thing. In the Gospel of John, when you look at what Jesus says, He says, it is written in your law. Your law. He always says your law, their law, because I think something's going on here between Roman law and Jewish law. They're one and the same. All right. It's the same law. And what happened is they wrote, when they put the Bible canon together, in actual reality, what they did to get the Old Testament narrative with the Hebrew and with their God Jehovah and all this stuff going on,
At the castle.
they repackaged the ideas. Think about this, because the Old Testament is actually a retelling of different Greek mythologies, Roman mythologies. You can see all this in here. What they did was they repackaged it in such a way during the days of the Inquisition and during the days when the Jews were in Italy, and they took the Roman pagan mythology and they put it in such a way that the people could consume it, where the Jews were set apart. Do you see what I'm saying here? Okay.
Yeah.
Because Jove of the Romans is Jehovah or Yahweh of the Jews. It's the same deity, the same God. In other words, they created an entire narrative around it, because the only place we can really find anything where there's a golden age of Jews is in the time of Italy with Spain. Okay. It's fascinating. Now this isn't far-fetched either. Missy, do you remember that video that I had you watch a little bit back? There was a painting on there that showed Joshua in Jericho. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Joshua in Jericho. There were castles. If you look, it was really weird what was going on. There is an actual Egyptologist named Ahmed Osman that talks about how the biblical narrative happened in the days of Egypt. But what he sits there and says is this, and he's one of the only ones that says this, and it makes a lot of sense when he says it. He says the Joshua of the Old Testament is the Jesus of the New. Moses is right before the Joshua that takes the people into the promised
John
land.
the Baptist.
Huh?
John the Baptist.
Well, this Melissa
Well,
put
if Moses came before Joshua, then he would have been John the Baptist.
Yes, in a sense. Exactly. So what's fascinating about this? John the Baptist, the word John, the name John comes from the word Oannes. Oannes is Janus. Okay? Do you know who Janus is? Have you heard of Janus? Janus is the two-faced deity. All right. So what we begin to see here is
double-headed. Then, if that's the case,
it's duality. It's the deity. This is Abraham. This is the father of light and darkness. This is the entire narrative. They set it up in Spain. Okay. Melissa put something. She put it in a comment 100. I want to hear her take if she's.
Oh, I just think that, yeah, Joshua and Yeshua, they would have known back then that was the same name. In this book, it talks about how that was Jesus. That was the same person in the Old Testament that led him into the promised land.
What book is?
It's in the Lost Goddess.
That's in that book?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got to get my hands on it. I got to look.
Yeah, you really need to read this book, I think. And I haven't even read anymore since, like, I don't even know, because I've been so busy. We finally hired a new designer though, so I'm hoping he'll get with it.
How you finding that book, Melissa?
Huh?
How are you finding that book, Jesus and the Lost Goddess?
I like it. I'll put a link in the from Amazon where I got it in the comments. But yeah, it does talk about that, how the Old Testament Joshua is Yeshua of the New Testament. So
that's a beautiful esoteric. I love it.
but there's a lot of stuff in here about how the Bible came about, and like it gives references and stuff that you would know, you would recognize where I don't. So that's why I would like for you to read it and give me your opinion on it and tell me, because these works of Josephus and this and that, Irenaeus and all these people, I have never read. So I
Could
don't
it
know.
be that?
Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah,
and
that's
Lost
it.
Goddess?
Uh-huh.
One with that anchor cross.
Yep,
I'm
that's it.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
check
because
this out.
Jesus, the Christ, is the female.
And it gives like all the resources in the back. Like it cites everything. So that's why
Okay.
I think it would be good for somebody that has the knowledge of all those things to read it and tell me if I'm on the right track, because I like it. I think it's a good story. Now, whether he lived or not, it still makes a lot of sense what they're saying about, the history and all.
Right. Well, so the biggest thing for me is that, like we were talking about, at the Council of Nicaea, going into the Council of Trent, when there was decision on whether Jesus was just a man or God in the flesh, and whether he actually was the Son of God or what, there was a lot of pagan ideas that were thrown into the mix, like Sol Invictus Sun worship of Constantine. For instance, I mean, think about the name Constantine. He's a Khan. That's what it means. The guy's a Khan. He came to con the people. Okay. So now let's think about this. If the Jewish law of the people of the days of Jesus, even beforehand, I wish Ashley was here because I know she knows Greek and everything. I really do. So during the days of Rome and the Jews, they had the same deity. They had the same laws. I'm going to show you how they had the same laws. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 25. All right. Deuteronomy
Which verse?
25. I think it's verse 3 to begin with. I'm telling you, I think
40 lashes may be given out, but not more. If lashes, then those are given, your neighbor will be degraded in your sight.
okay. All right. So you see how it says 40 lashes? All right. Wasn't it the Romans? Didn't the Jews say at the trial of Jesus that we cannot put this man to death? It's not allowed within our law to put this man to death. Okay, first off, we have this right here. Jesus was scourged with 40 stripes, if we remember. All right. But it's right there in the law of Deuteronomy of the Mosaic covenant, the Torah, that a man was able to be given 40 stripes. This is Yahweh's law, but this is also Roman law as well. On top of that, we know that when Jesus was crucified on the cross, crucifixion was a normal thing within the Roman Empire. But in the book of the Torah, it says, "Cursed is any man that dies on a tree." So we know that even according to Jewish law, crucifixion was a thing. All right. Roman law is Jewish law, and Jewish law is Roman law.
I just literally purchased this book, Jesus and the Lost Goddess. Is that right, Melissa?
That's the right book.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the right book. Okay, so we got the same law here, Jewish law and Roman law. All right, we got the same gods, the same deities. We have Jove of the Romans, who is actually Jupiter, who actually goes into oh God, what's his name? Tinia of the Etruscans. And then we have Zeus and all these other deities, Enki and Enlil, Anu. But then we have Hova or Jehovah of the Jews. It's the same deity. We have a part in the Bible, in the Gospels, where the Jews say, we have no king except Caesar. All right. Their king was Caesar. Who was Caesar?
Jesus Christ.
Well,
The JC is Julius Caesar, and people switch that to Jesus Christ at the Council of Nicaea with Constantine.
You think so? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
The name Christ was are you saying that Christ was Caesar?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Because it makes sense, Josh. Like if you use
Julius
Caesar.
It does. Caesar was God in the flesh. The kings were a representation of God in the flesh. That's why the word Pharaoh, if you guys remember when we talked about that name Pharaoh, it means the etymology is house of God.
Yeah.
They're the house of God. They're the embodiment of their deity. All right. So I agree. I agree. I'll have to look into that.
I said that in my TikTok video about the trick in regards to the tricks of brothers and how Jesus Christ is actually Julius Caesar and it's coded name. I got that off another TikTok video, and I thought, yeah, that makes sense because you mentioned Julius Caesar, and I thought, yeah, I got to connect the dots here because she also said it as well.
Well, Julius Caesar is JC. All right.
Yeah.
JC. Yeah, exactly. And so this is where, like, if I would have talked about this a couple of years, it would have offended me, and I wouldn't have even really listened at all. But we got to look at these telltale signs. We got to look at how the Christ was an anointed one. We got to look at how anyone that is anointed is considered a Christ. All right. So in Isaiah 45, when we're looking at Cyrus being the anointed one, he is the Christ. When we're looking at David, he is the Christ. Solomon is the Christ. All right. These kings were the Christ. In the book of Acts, when it says Herod and Pontius Pilate were seated on the throne as the anointed ones, they are the Christ over Israel. All right. So the Christ has something to do with pagan mythologies and it has something to do with Jewish mythology because the Jews are the same as the pagans and the pagans are the same as the Jews. But the one that was sent, and the one that was sent, not just according to what I'm saying, but according to different writers, different earlier Christians saying that Jesus was sent. In the Gospel of John, it's telling us that Jesus was sent. The pagan virgin birth not being added until the days of Constantine. So we got some bigger fish to fry here. And I said earlier that Joshua of the Old Testament is the Jesus of the New, the Jesus Christ of the New. Okay.
And what is it? Jesus, the real Jesus says you cannot put old wine in with the new.
Right.
That all came before him are thieves, liars, and robbers.
Right. Exactly. Well, so
but I can see that where Constantine added the Old Testament in with the New to fit in the agenda of Zionism.
Here's the thing. I don't think the I'm going to give you an alternate time. I don't think the Old Testament existed.
No.
I know this sounds crazy. I don't.
Even though I love some of it in the Old Testament, but I love the reincarnation of it, the esoteric of the Bible. Don't get me wrong, but the Old Testament never really existed. I'm
starting to think that the Old Testament didn't exist. What they were going off of was the Roman law, because the Roman law is the Jewish law. Okay. So in the days of Jesus, when the New Testament was being written, it was against Roman law. All right. It was against the people that were following Jehovah or Hove. All right. The sky deity. What happened was after the destruction of the temple and the taxes went towards the temple of Jupiter Optimus Maximus, Jupiter is Yahweh. So even in 70 AD, when the taxes went to the temple, they were funding Yahweh, because even though the temple over here was destroyed, there was a greater beast that was being funded over here. And this was starting to fund the Roman Empire to build a new kingdom that entailed the Masoretic text.
In the
which we-
Melchizedek order of Iolian.
It's all attached, okay?
Because Iolian is the higher Yahweh.
Well,
There's multiple Yahwehs, isn't there? So if you got the lower, who's
Yeah.
the jealous Yahweh, and the higher Yahweh is Iolian, insult jealous. That's us.
El, who is Chronos, actually circumcised his child. Who's the first one who circumcised their child?
Jesus.
Abraham. Abraham. He was the first one to circumcise his child, according to the Bible. Because the father of light and darkness, or the father of duality, that goes back to El and Chronos, is the father of the Jews, which originated as an Ibri in the Iberian Peninsula of Spain, of Italy. So now what we begin to see here is this, is that when the New Testament was written as something that was coming against Roman Empire, the Roman law, which is Jewish law, which ultimately is repackaged ideas of Babylon, Acadia, Sumeria, Greece, all of these empires, all right? Because they're all one. It's the snake that eats its own tail. This is the reincarnation cycle. They will kill one empire and unalive one empire in order to become the new empire.
Just like the Romans killing the Romans and Jews killing the Jews. They're all divided against each other. They're all off the different sides, but off the same coin here.
Got it. It's Republicans and Democrats. All right. Now, all right. So now that we can understand that, it was during the time of the medieval ages when the Catholic Church was being set up, when Jesus was known as Jesus the Christ, was known as the Son of God. He was of Sol Invictus sun worship. He was born on December 25th. All of these ideas originated. They started taking Jesus and associating him with pagan mythologies. What happened was there were rabbis in the dark ages of the medieval times, and this is when I believe they wrote the Old Testament, because the Old Testament is just a repackaged idea of all the other mythologies that came before it. And this is where they created the separation, and this is where they tried to attach themselves to the deity of Jesus. All right? But they attached themselves to Jesus the Christ.
The demigod.
The demigod, yes. Think about it. Someone that's pagan virgin born is a demigod, all right? In all mythologies, with Horus, with Dionysus, with Bacchus, with Hercules, with these different deities, they were demigods when they were virgin born, okay? Our Jesus was not a demigod. He was the Father in the flesh. And this is what Marcion was fighting against right here.
Because Jesus the good ascended out of the heavens to dwell within the human form.
Yes, he came to teach the truth, to sit there and say that all that have ever come before me are thieves, robbers, and liars. All right. And I'm not telling you to follow me. All I'm saying, just go do the freaking research. I think that we're onto something big here. I really do. On top of that, do you notice how I said that the Old Testament was written after the New? Okay, let's think about this. If the Old Testament was written after the New, let's go back to the story of Joshua, Moses and Joshua. Ahmed Osman said that the Joshua of the Old Testament is the Jesus Christ of the New. All right. Well, that's fascinating, because Moses, when he passed the torch on to Joshua, Joshua went in the land and he smited all the Canaanites. He smited everyone. Okay. He killed them all. In other words, he tried to get them to bow down to his religion. What does Julius Caesar do? Julius Caesar smites the people, has them convert to the religion in which they have, the Roman imperial cults of God, in other words, to sit there and try to put it as one. This is why the Jews could sit there and say, we have no king but Caesar, because their Caesar or their God is actually Hove. It's Yahweh. It's all the
Because
same.
it's put their trust in human form, in human worship.
Yes. Okay. About 25 minutes ago, before we got on this rant, I told you we were going to go to Luke chapter 1. All right. Let's go ahead and look at this. All right. First off, does anyone have any questions? What are you guys thinking about this right now?
Got a couple questions pop up. And I mean, they're related, but they're not necessarily, it's a rabbit hole. Who is Tiberius in relation to Julius?
Beautiful, beautiful question. We're going there.
Okay.
This is what we were going to look at.
Okay. All right.
This is, I think this is going to blow your.
Which verse are we reading?
We're going to go to Luke chapter 1. Let me get there first. All right. Luke chapter 1. I've had a lot of things to digest. I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff you cannot find on the internet. This is why I have to create this series. I have to put it down in a digestible format. I think 99% of us are being lied to. I don't think really anyone knows this. I think Golan Weah, Scriptural Truth, she knows some of this stuff as it is. She's put the dots together because she's probably done about 2 times more studying than myself and everything. I'm telling you, I know she comes across a little bit brash. Her videos are really long and drawn out, but I've already talked to her and I told her that I'm going to go ahead and commit to this and I'm going to really look at this stuff. And if I can see that I find this is truth, I'm going to put this in a digestible format for the people as it is. Because
because she is, I'll be honest, she is like one of those people that just like, she's so biased. That's what she come across. I'm so biased, and in the end, I said, "Fuck." I mean, Christ as in Christ conscience. I have nothing against that, right? Christ auras as in the eye that's within is the light, and I get that. All right. But when she says, "Oh, it's all evil," she means the people were evil because, like Horus and the all the pantheon gods of both in Mesopotamian cultures and Egyptians and Greek and Roman, all people worship human. Ra was actually a person.
Yeah, he was actually he was a pharaoh, as it is. All these pharaohs had Egyptian god names. And if you guys remember, I don't, were you guys able to watch that video on Amun-Ra revealed? I know Missy did. It was Amun-Ra revealed, all right? And Amun is actually in the name Emmanuel, all right?
Yeah.
It's in the name Emmanuel. So in that verse, we have the pagan virgin birth from Hera, who is Juno, according to a it's pretty much the parallel synopsis from Greek to Roman mythology. And Hera and Juno were virgin mothers that gave birth to the sun god, just like Isis gave birth to Horus. Okay,
just like the Mars god impregnated the woman with twins, and she had to give those twins up to the wolves to nurse. In Roman mythology, or is it Romulus and Remus?
Romulus and Remus.
Romulus and Remus, right? Okay.
The founders of Rome. Yep. Which is fascinating because
the word Emmanuel to me it just means mother, father, and child. That within, I have the mother or father within me. I'm the child.
So if you look at the etymology of the word Emmanuel, there were no vowels in the language. Okay. So in actuality, it was spelled I-M-N-L. Okay. I-M-N-L. It didn't have the A's or the E's or the U's. Okay. So I-M-N-L, I-M-N is Amun or Amen. Okay. That's how they would pronounce it.
The word Amen is in the word Testament.
Yeah, it sure is. You're right. Which is fascinating because we've been talking about New Testament and Old Testament. Something I'd have to dive into. And if I'm not mistaken, Paul's the first one. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out. I'm just thinking about a couple of things. All right. back to Missy's question. She said something about Tiberius Caesar. Okay. Where the heck is that guy talked about? He's talked about somewhere. Is it in chapter 1?
Luke chapter 1, you want us to read.
God, man. Where's Tiberius Caesar talked about? Wait a minute.
Luke 3:1.
Is it Luke 3:1? This? There we go. Okay. All right. Now, let's go ahead and look at this. All right. So, notice something too. If you guys remember in the Gospel of the Lord of Marcion, it actually begins with this. Luke 3:1. It says, now in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate being governor of Judea, I don't know if it says all that, and Herod being tetrarch of Galilee, and his brother Philip tetrarch of Eutrea, and of the region of Trachonitis and Lysanias and tetrarch of Abilene. It added all these names in here for like the mapping system for the location. In actual reality, if I'm not mistaken, the Gospel of the Lord says, in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, Jesus descended out of heaven into Capernaum. All right, that's actually what it says in the Gospel of the Lord.
But it says on the Gospel where 15th year reign of the Empress Tiberius, and when the Pontius Pilate was governor of Judea and Herod ruler of Galilee, his brother Philip ruler of the region of Iturea, and Trachonitis and Lycaria, ruler of Abilene, during the high priesthoods of Annas and Cactus, which is Peter the Rock, Jupiter Rock. The word of God came to John, the son of Zebedee, in the wilderness. The son of Zachariah in the wilderness.
This isn't
that church in the wilderness was Moses. So they're mixing the old in with the new. Even the Old Testament came after the New Testament. I think they had an agenda.
Yeah, they sure did. You got it. Because John, like I said, means Oannes. So John the Baptist, the guy that baptizes and okay, all right. This is crazy, but okay. Before we get into this Tiberius Caesar bit, there's so many freaking rabbit holes we could go down. John the Baptist baptized in water, right? Okay. He baptized Jesus, the Christ, in the water as the anointed one. Okay. This is also the story of Anubis in Egypt baptizing Horus. Okay. Anubis, who was the god of the dead, he actually cremated or embalmed the body of Horus to rise from the dead. Okay. Just like water is a representation of the abyss. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
The water is a representation of the abyss. This is why you have Leviathan in the water. This is why Jesus walks over the water. And you have these different things going on, the sea monsters. So what happens is when John baptizes Jesus the Christ, he's the anointed one. When Anubis baptizes Horus, he becomes the anointed one. Okay? John is on. Notice how Anu or Anubis is John the Baptist. Okay? John the Baptist is Anubis. Okay.
And he is that church of wilderness. He's the sandal phone fanatic.
He's in the wilderness because Yahweh meets you in the wilderness. The name John or Oannes is actually a water deity. Oannes is actually a water deity. John is a water deity. Yahweh is a water deity. Leviathan is a water deity. It's all connected, all right? So what happens here is this John the Baptist, who baptizes Jesus the Christ out in the Old Testament, or in the water here, what this is showing is it's connecting the two together. they're connecting Jesus the Christ being someone that followed the pagan mythologies and religions of the people of that day to Yahweh, okay? Just like in the pagan virgin birth, it's Hera who is actually the virgin that gives birth to Emmanuel, all right? Who is Juno, and Juno is the consort of Jove, so she would be the consort of Jehovah or Yahweh, all right? They're connecting it one and the same Yahweh with Jesus. Marcion didn't do this. It was a disconnect. And we know, according to all scholars, the Gospel of Luke is actually coming from the Gospel of the Lord of Marcion, all right? It was written way beforehand. So what they're doing is, in the Roman Empire with Constantine, they're connecting Roman and Jewish mythologies, all these pagan mythologies, with the birth of Christ, all right? Let's go to Tiberius Caesar, though. Okay, let's begin at this. In the story of Abram, the Hebrew, he is known as an Ibri. An Ibri is Iberian, okay? This is going to be the first video I do on YouTube tomorrow. It's going to be about the Iberians, by the way, all right? So we're going to take all the sources, we're going to connect it, and we're going to put it all out there. We're going to lay it all out there. Because we have to build a foundation to show where these people actually come from, all right? Now, and I'm probably not going to be talking about how the Old Testament was written after the New, all right? This is specifically...
You know, I will admit, like, be honest, like, I do like some parts of the Old Testament. I like those stories where Jacob became Israel. I love it.
Oh, yeah, a lot of it, but that's the dualistic nature. If it was all evil, you'd be able to catch right on and stuff. So they have to throw some good in there. Because even...
Yeah, I do like it, because the Isis, the mother, and Ra, and El, to me, it just means Isis, the mother, like Ra is the light within us, El is elevated higher. I love it. This is about the higher conscience, all right?
I
do resonate with it. But like I said in my TikTok video, that Esau and Jacob being the female, who was a representation of Israel, the motherland, how Esau is a representation of Roman, which is the masculine, the patriarchs.
Roman...
But the patriarchs at the Council of Nicaea took away the female Messiah and wanted the male Messiah, who's virgin born.
So
Joanna is supposed to be like that woman day.
Well, Joanna is the female version of John or Joanna.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's in her name, innit? Joanna.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Even in the name Tiberius Caesar, you have Spain and Italy right in there. I'll show you. Right. So I was thinking about this the other day, actually, and I put the 2 and 2 together. With Abram was a Chaldean, but he was a Hebrew. The Hebrews are the Iberies. The Iberies are people that come from the Iberian Peninsula of North and South Italy. All right. Now, what's fascinating about this, they come off of a certain region where a place known as the Tiber River is. Tiber River. Tiber. Do you see where we're going with this? Mm-hmm. Think about Tiberius. The Tiber River in Spain and Italy, where Abram is coming from, in the name of the Caesar of Rome, is Tiber, or the Tiberius River, okay? Because what they did was they named it after their locations in which they reigned and ruled in which they partook of, okay? Another fascinating thing about this, if you remember when Jesus puts the people on the grass he takes bread and fish and he multiplies it. He tells the people to go on the grass. The where we think of in the there's no grass over the Middle East like we think. There's grass over in Spain and Italy, all right, and it's very luscious, and as well as there's butter and there's honey and there's olives. You don't get that stuff over in the Middle East. You get the stuff over in Italy, all right? All of these things, like the land of milk and honey, all of these things, this all is over in Italy. This is not stuff that grows over in the Middle East. So when we start to put the connection pieces to this and we start to really break it down and look at it, also, Abram was near a terebinth tree. It says he was near a terebinth tree in Mamre. There's no terebinth trees that grow over in the Middle East. Terebinth trees are indigenous to Italy. You can't make this stuff up. Like, when you start to connect the surroundings around the people, and then you start to look at how the little details is actually what matters to all this, to put the puzzle pieces together, you start to realize that we are literally living in the friggin' Twilight Zone and everything is backwards. Okay. I mean, should we really be surprised though, that if this did take place in a different region than what we're told? We really shouldn't. On top of that, in that video that Missy watched, it had,
You know, not many people will know this, but a lot of Jesus' ministry happened in Italy.
yeah, there's actually a scholar. His name is Jacobovici, and he actually says when Jesus passed the Sea of Galilee to go to the Gadarenes, he was actually going to Spain. He was going to Spain in actual reality, because the Gadarenes on the map, there's a place called Gadara over in Spain, Italy, that is actually off the coast of Gadara. All right. So, plus, like, you have pigs over there, and it was Greek, and it's all kinds of screwed up. So what I think happened is after Constantine, when a people known as the Spanish Jews, who are actually the Sephardics, they actually put the Old Testament together. They put the Kabbalistic books together, the Zohar, because it was all something that was created during that day. We know for a fact Kabbalah and Talmud was created during that day. I think the Old Testament was created during that day though, too. Straight up. Because if you look at how Joshua from the Promised Land, who crosses over into the Promised Land, is actually Jesus Christ, it all really starts to make sense. And we have paintings of this. We have an Egyptologist called Amin Osman that has connected the dots with this. I think we're all being lied to from the chronology we've been given. And actual reality, it's Jesus died a lot sooner than what we think. And Tartaria is attached to this as well. Because during the Renaissance period, you had these different paintings that came out of all of this stuff taking place in Italy. All right. There's a bunch of paintings on this stuff as it is. So anyone have any questions?
So I just wanted to say, like with the two Jesuses, it makes me think of how this book says, like, you know, the two Marys, excuse me, the two Marys represent like the higher Sophia and the lower Sophia. So like the two Jesuses
Like the
represent
brothers.
the higher Jesus and the lower Jesus, and the one crucified would represent your flesh. You know, how you like die to the flesh, stop identifying with the body and the ego and stuff. And so if it's allegory, then
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Something that's fascinating is that it actually says Jesus was going to be numbered among the robbers. Okay. The heck is that? Jesus the good, Jesus Bar Abba, carnal life.
Jesus Christ, the spiritual life and death.
Life and death. Yeah, because
That just means to me that the Trickster brothers, how they play out, like the Anki and Lo, and Skyfather on you. That's how the female Trinity came from, the Constantine.
Constantine, you got it. Yeah. It's all one and the same.
And the rod that leads the way is the Christ within us.
Right.
Not the dualistic Christ.
Well, the
dualistic Christ is not, and there is a spiritual. Well, basically, yeah, the dualistic Christ is of spiritual life and death. Therefore, it must be the Antichrist.
Well, it's there's some crazy stuff in here, but okay. And
female Trinity came from the Orthodox and the Constantine and the Council of Syria.
I'm going to be getting into a lot of this on that series that we're going to be doing. I think it's going to be made very clear by the end of it because, you know, even for myself, it took me a little bit to really just try to put the puzzle pieces together.
It's a lot to take in, isn't it? Because, like, I look at JC, the Julius Caesar, who the Jews say is their king of kings. Where did that came from? The Jews, the Roman and the Israel.
Yep. Well, also, so Barabbas, first off, it says that the one who was going to die on the cross was going to be numbered among the robbers. All right. If we look at the original translation of the scriptures, it shows us that Barabbas was actually the one that was numbered with the robbers. He was not a murderer. He did not partake in the insurrection, but he was numbered with the robbers. Now, what's fascinating about this is the name Bar Abba means son of the father. Okay.
Son, yeah, S-U-N.
And in the earlier transcription of the book, and the earlier transcription of the Gospels, we can actually see that his name was Jesus Barabbas. All right. Jesus the Christ and Jesus Barabbas were right there. Now, Jesus the Christ, the word Christ, if you look at it, Christ is just Greek for Messiah. All right. Messiah actually comes from a word called Misa. All right. The Misa is the crocodile anointing oil. All right. It's the anointing from the crocodile. This is according to someone that actually translated the etymology of the words of Egypt and showed how Egyptian words go back to Hebrew. Okay. But you got to remember, as we talked about, it's all one and the same. It's the same language. All right. It's just a different repackaged idea for it all. And think about it like this. The Tower of Babel. It was one language at the tower, right? But when the languages split, they became 70. But if we reunited all the 70 languages, they would all become one again. So they're all telling the same story. It's just that it's in a different tongue or a different language. But the roots of that language are all going to stay the same. All right. So therefore, what we can see here is, should we really be surprised that the Sumerian tablets or language could morph into Babylon, and Babylon could morph into Acadia, and Acadia could morph into Chaldea, and ultimately Chaldea could morph into Greece and Rome, and finally Hebrew of what we have today. All right. Which all it is it all goes back. All right. Because
to like Jesus Barabbas might go back to that as well.
Well, Jesus Barabbas would be something completely new. All right. It would be something that would completely just change the ball game. All right. In other words, it's almost like,
Because if you see Jesus Bar Abba means son of the Father, S-O-N, but it's also S-U-N. It means son, as in the light of Father. So I can understand why Jesus the good, Jesus the good, would have been entering the spiritual Father, the spirit of Father and the light, the Father of light, would enter into Jesus Bar Abba, because
it didn't even enter. That's the thing. He came with it. That's the entire point. He wasn't anointed by it. He already had it.
That's what I'm trying to say to you. But Jesus
Right.
brought. I'm thinking of the human flesh, because why else where Jesus came from? Because the living Father doesn't really have a name.
Right. So you see, even if we look back at the story of John the Baptist anointing Jesus, like we said, this is Anubis anointing Horus. Horus means horizon of the sun. All right. This is the sun on the horizon. This is the Son of God on the horizon. All right. He's being anointed. Jesus Christ even says at the baptism of John, what he ends up saying is that this must happen for all things to be fulfilled. Okay. Fascinating. Because
Jesus wouldn't even say that.
No, he wouldn't. He already had the fulfillment of things within him. He was already the fullness of the Father because he descended from heaven. He even says to Nicodemus.
So he wasn't human by any chance if he had descended from heaven, because flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, only spirit, right?
Well, this is where it gets fascinating. Remember, if he descended from heaven, he was wrapped in the likeness of flesh. Okay?
Exactly.
The Bible even says this. All right? It says he was wrapped in the likeness of flesh. This is why when he walked on the water, they thought they were seeing a spirit on the water. Okay? The things that he did, remember, he spoke in the synagogue in Luke chapter 4, which actually coincides with Luke chapter, or the Gospel of the Lord, chapter 1 or 2 of Marcion, where it actually says that he was on the edge of the cliff. All right? And what happens? He walks right through their midst. Huh?
Because he's overtaken by the spirit.
Because he was a spirit. Exactly.
He was a spirit. Just like he walked on water, he was a spirit. No flesh can walk on water.
But he was in the likeness of flesh. Okay?
Yeah, in the likeness of the human flesh. Doesn't mean to say he was human. He was a spirit.
Because he wasn't a demigod. He was God coming down in the flesh. Okay? He partook of the flesh. If he was pagan virgin born, that means he would have had to have been born from the earth and risen up. All right? That is the story of Horus. That is the story of Dionysus. This is the story of Bacchus.
In some cases, it's the story of us as well.
This is the story of us, according to the upside down realm in which we live in. All right? But when we attach ourselves onto the words of Jesus and the red letters specifically, then we start to realize that this story is completely different than what we've ever been told. We're not attaching ourselves onto the pagan mythologies. We're not attaching ourselves onto the civilizations of Sumeria, Egypt, Babylon, Acadia, Persia, Greece, Rome, or even the Hebrews of today, or even the Etruscans, which was Italy. All right. We're attaching ourselves onto the words of the one that brought eternal life, which was completely different than anything that ever came before. Okay. Because what happens is when you believe in all this BS, this is personally what I think happens. When you believe in all this BS and you serve a God that Jesus completely had like he was battling, you're going to be reincarnated back into this realm. All right. Because what you're doing is you're serving a deity that is a part of the below. Okay. That
is human and God, the demigod.
Yes. It's attached in statues. Okay. Think about the days of Noah. In the days of Noah, the Nephilim were having marriage with the daughters of men, and they were having sons of God that were born. Okay. These were demigods that were being born. All right. So that's why in the Christ, you have a demigod that's being born. But Jesus bar Abba was sent. Therefore, he's not a demigod. The demigods would be just the same.
That just means Jesus is the Father.
You got it. Yes. He's
So
not.
Jesus is the Father. It don't need to be called Abba because it's just a title of light of the Father.
All it means is son
Father of lights. That's what he is. I was trying to say.
All it means is son of the Father. That's it.
No.
That's
but then it's a light of the Father. So the Father of light. It makes more sense to me now when I say he's the Father of light.
Yeah, well, yeah, because he doesn't have any duality within him.
Exactly.
So absolutely. I agree. It's 100% light as it is. All right. Before we go on, what are you guys thinking about this? Is there anything I need to clarify at all?
I feel like it's our story of our path to enlightenment. We start off, identifying with the flesh, and then we gain this knowledge. I mean, like, if you're really seeking, then I'm sure people have figured this out before us. It's just been hidden, you know? And so it's just our journey back to unified consciousness.
Yeah.
The light. Go to the light within.
I agree. So they tried to set it up in such a way where they attached Jesus to the pagan mythology, to this sun god worship, and they tried to make you think that it was okay. But all it is wolves in sheep's clothing. This is all it really comes. It's disguised, it's camouflaged, it's a snake in the grass.
But it's a stepping stone. I feel like it's just a part of the path. We all go through it, I don't know.
Yeah. No, you can't get to this point without going through a lot of understanding and everything. A lot of people aren't going to have this. I get it. All right. And a lot of people are going to think it's crazy because even 10 months ago, like even when I was doing some research on it and trying to really look at it, I thought it was crazy until I jumped into the etymology of Sumeria and I looked at what the words really mean. It all begins to make sense now. It all really does. So it's just a matter of untying the knots, the tangled web in which we weaved. Because we did this. We did this to ourselves in actual reality. So.
Yeah, well, there's no point dwelling on it. Like, I don't know.
No, there is no point in dwelling on it. My entire purpose is to try to help people to think about this from outside the box. Sit there and say, oh my God, maybe that's an alternative option. In other words, maybe there is something more.
God, if I go walk into the church right now and I say I believe in Jesus but Abba, they're gonna think I'm a heretic.
Of course they are. They never would understand that. I mean,
just like when the scriptural truth, what she called whatever her name is, when she was on Sons of God ministry, she was ramming it down our throats. That's why we don't accept that, because she wouldn't like it if we ran our religions down our throat. So why the fuck does she does it to us? That's what I don't like about her.
That was the problem. She was trying to be too forceful with it.
Yeah.
And we don't
instead of letting people grow in their own faith and their own journey, she's just ramming it and accusing us of worshipping Yahweh. That's what it fucking pisses me off when it comes to people like that.
The thing is that
and say that Kabbalah is evil and all that, and yet, like, I don't know, it's a good side of Kabbalah as well. So if you think I'm gonna like criticize those that worship the sun god, all right, and think I'm gonna condemn them, you're sadly mistaken, because I won't even correct them, because the sun to them just means light, enlightenment.
Well, the thing is that it's a journey they're gonna have to figure out. Okay, you can't push anything down anyone's throat.
I mean, what if I say to you, Joshua, like last night I had a vision I was tapping into my mind's eye with my index and middle finger like that gently, and all of a sudden I saw a white light coming from the sun within. It's a dash of white light.
Mm-hmm.
Not golden light, it's white light. There's no listed about it.
It was just completely white. Yeah, it was pure. It was essence. You know, what's fascinating is before we had fridges and we would put our food in there to preserve it or whatever the case may be, they use salt to actually preserve foods. That would let us know that when
We
Jesus,
are the light of the world.
light of the world,
Because the light, the white light that shines within us is actually the real spiritual sun that's within the greater light.
you need salt to
And
live.
Jesus Abba, to me, it just means sun, the light, the white light of the sun of the Abba. Abba
Mineral salts of
of
the
light,
body.
Father of light.
Interesting. Mineral salts of the body.
So like the Jesus Abba, when it's Jesus is the Father of light, sun that shines within us, sent from them. But that's what I believe. But I don't believe the actual human body of Jesus at all. But the monad cannot be named. The living Father cannot be named. It's not Jesus.
It's unnameable. Yeah.
Unnameable, yeah.
It's so that's why. So one thing I wanted to hit on was this, is that you have Jesus with 12 apostles, okay? I think we touched on this a little bit last week. The 12 apostles, all right? The word apostle actually comes from the word apostasy, all right? Its root is in the word apostasy. So why in the world are we calling them apostles? What is going on? Huh?
The disciples.
It's supposed to be disciple. Not only that, the 12 apostles are a representation of the 12 Sumerian gods of the pantheon, Greek gods, Roman gods, all the gods.
12 zodiacs.
Even so, the zodiac, when we look at the zodiac, all right, and we look at what it deals with, it's dealing with our path here in this world, right? Okay. Because it's attached to this world. It's not attached to the upper realm, in other words. So when we hit the upper realm, there's going to be no more need for it. All right. If you look at the zodiac, it's zoomorphism. All right. It's animal characteristics. All right. Like you have like the Sagittarius, which is like a half man, half horse hybrid.
And you got the Gemini, the human.
You got Virgo, which is the
Yeah.
virgin. You got the entire story, okay? Because it's the story of all religions that are attached to
Human
this,
flesh.
the human flesh, this world. In time,
Because we are animalistic in our facial features and all that.
yeah, we got a lot of crazy stuff going on. Like,
And then not to mention our personalities.
Right, exactly. Guys, let's go ahead and take a break for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and go grab another coffee and everything. And we'll get back to this. Is this helping you guys? Is this making sense?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. You see, the thing is, now you can go on like TikTok, and I'm sure you guys have already done this a bunch of times. Go on TikTok, listen to someone. You can't bullshit a bullshitter at the end of the day, all right?
You can't brag the bragger.
You can't do it, all right? I mean,
You can't brag the bragger. That's another way of saying it. Brag the bragger.
What were you gonna say about the salt? Sorry, I just was curious. What you said, salt preserves, and then you were gonna say something.
Yeah. So salt, we need salt to actually keep our body alive. It's a pure substance. It's a pure form, and we absolutely need it to survive. Just like the only way this world survives is through the pure salt to the light of the people. That's it. And Yeah, the sea salt. So basically what happens is that our world exists off of duality, light and darkness. Abraham is the father of light and darkness. This is the duality. All right. Kabbalah, think about the word Kabbalah. Kab Allah. All right.
Allah, the Muslim god.
It's the Muslim deity. Kab, there's a black cube that they worship in Mecca called the Kaaba. All right. And then Allah is their God. So Kab Allah is actually associated with the Muslim faith. All right. Now, what's fascinating about this? God, I got to go get some coffee here in a minute. But basically, what ends up happening is that video that I had Missy watch a while back. I forget, Mind Unveiled. I think it was, yeah, his name was Mind Unveiled. Notice how he puts the Muslims in there. He puts the Quranic traditions in there because they're all attached. The Abrahamic religions are attached, all one and the same. And that includes Christianity. Because Christianity, it's the worship of the sun god. Allah is the worship of the sun god, or the Muslims. And the Jews are the worship of the sun god because they all go back to pagan mythologies. They're all one and the same. Okay.
Kosher salt.
All right. Wait a minute. It's a $3 book about which salt works best for your meat suit. Interesting.
Meat suit. I love that
Your
word, meat
flesh
suit.
that was created in certain time and space. So you were fearfully and wonderfully made, knitted together in your mother's womb, specifically with a design, and this helps.
Mm-hmm. All right. I'm going to go ahead and go grab some coffee. And we'll get right back to it here in a minute. So, all right.
How's you, Missy?
I'm sorry, what's up, Ellie?
I said, how's you, Missy?
Oh, I'm doing really well. I'm doing really well.
Sorry for being a bit snappy. We're a bit very. It's just.
You're
Joe,
human.
I know you see. You know, we have visions and dreams, and whatnot.
Mhm.
Well, when I was on TikTok and I put myself on mute, and I closed my eyes, lay back on my couch, and I visualized a yellow pair of eyes with pointy pupils of a dragon.
Interesting.
It was an eye of a dragon, and it's a red dragon. All right, wasn't scared of it. Also then in a baby. I saw a boy.
Have you heard of the Sophia dragons?
Sophie.
Like
Yeah.
the Wisdom Sophia, the Sophia dragons?
Yeah, wisdom dragon.
Let me look them up.
The red dragon's quite a powerful one, isn't it?
Well, they all are. But yes.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, we're gonna go till about noon today. All right. As it is, I think that would be good. As it is. What is this? This meeting is being recorded. Oh, okay. I have a pop up here. There we go.
I was just talking about dragons earlier. A minute.
Yeah, I heard you. I heard you. You know, our country, America, is actually named after a dragon.
I'm not on about those dragons, but like, yeah, I look to them as well. But really, it was a spiritual dragon or sword. Like I told Mrs. It was so real. It's like a red dragon, but it almost like animated, but it's a red dragon.
Mhm.
But it's just completely different from this world. Completely different. And it had yellow eyes with a pointy pupil, pupil,
Pupil.
People.
pointy pupil of an eye of a dragon. It was yellow, and it's a red dragon, and it's a spiritual wisdom. And then next to it, I saw a male child, a baby,
Mhm.
a baby. But the dragon was actually a youngster itself.
Interesting. All right. So, okay. This I wanted to let you guys know something. I still believe. Give me 1 minute. That looks like a more realistic version of the dragon from Shrek. The one that donkeys with. So
That's more like it, but it didn't add a flame out of his mouth or nose or anything.
Okay.
I think the dragon might have been a female. I don't know.
Mhm.
But it
so,
was similar like that, yeah.
all right.
But his pupils were like almost real.
So got to remember there's two dragons in Book of Revelation too. There's one dragon that has it has the horns of a lamb, but it speaks like a dragon. All right. And then we got another one that comes out of the sea. That's Leviathan. This is talking about the Roman Empire. This is talking about how they're all attached, one and the same. This is what I could not wrap my mind around, but I can tell you this much right now. I know for a fact that Yahweh is attached to the Romans. Let's go to Revelation 13, verse 1. All right, since we're on this is going to be crazy right here. Revelation 13:1. Whoever wants to read it.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
Verse 2.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
Okay. All right. Now we see that. Let's look. Okay. So you have a lion, a bear, and a leopard, right? And this
Yeah.
beast is coming out of the sea, right?
Yes.
We know that a sea in the Bible is a representation of Gentile nations or pagan nations, okay? Or the abyss. It's a representation of the abyss, all right? I already talked about how water is the abyss. John the Baptist baptizes Jesus the Christ. This is the baptism of death, okay? That he was about to undergo, everything that's happening here. But also in Hosea 13, we have the same characteristics of this beast being attached to Yahweh, all right? So now in the beast of the sea, we can actually go. You guys want to go to it? Let's go to Hosea 13. Let's look at this. I'm telling you, something weird's going on here with the Old Testament. I think it was written during the days of the Dark Ages. This is why they changed the Bible. No one could get to it. All right, so heck is that at? Yeah. Oh, there we go. All right, go to verse 7. 7 and 8.
So I will be like a lion to them, like a leopard I will lurk by the path, like a bear robbed of her cubs. I will attack them and rip them open. Like a lion, I will devour them. A wild animal will tear them apart.
Okay, so we got a bear, a leopard, and a lion, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's Yahweh saying that to Hosea. So we could see that the beast of the sea is Yahweh coming out of the sea. But the sea is also the Roman Empire. So we have one and the same that is coming out here because they are the same. Rome is the Jews and the Jews are Rome. All right. It's all attached, one and the same. They're all together. So when we said earlier that it's almost like the Roman Empire, which actually means the roaming man, the Roman means roaming man, or the rowing man, right? The rowing, like boat, all right? When and the etymology of the word rowman means birdman. Row means bird. So it's the birdman, which is fascinating why we have a phoenix attached to our American flag. It's not an eagle, it's a phoenix. Out of the ashes, we will rise again, in other words. So basically what I'm trying to get at is this, is that the Romans are the Jews are the Romans. The beast of the sea is the beast that is Yahweh, because they're one and the same. They worship the same deity. It's all the same God. So when it comes to what Jesus said in Matthew 24, if you look at Matthew 24:5, and we don't read it in the English, but we read it in the actual transcription of the language, it actually says, do not call him the Christ. All right. I don't want to get too much into that. The main thing I want to get into is this. He talks about a day in which no flesh would be saved. And in the original transcription, and we're going to get into this as we keep on going, it actually has AI in there. AI. All right. The word AI. Let's reverse AI. What do we get?
I am.
Yah.
I am the eye, the
So
watcher.
Yah's name actually in Greece was actually spelled IA. So you don't think they know what they're doing when they say AI or IA? It's all reverse subliminal messaging. All right.
It's saying, I am watching you. I am the watcher who watches. I am the eye who watches. The single eye, the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, you're talking about Sauron. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Yah. All right. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is this. It's Yah. Okay. It's Yah. Now, even in the name Sinai, 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 Sin AI. All right. You have the moon deity. He's meeting them there.
Seeing I, isn't that like what you said in reverse the word I am, and I am the I that
Yeah.
watches. Just like Odin, the sacrifices I for the sake of wisdom, because he had a single eye that watches the Vikings that kill.
Yeah.
Right.
So what we have here is AI being spoken about. But AI is IA, which is Yah. All right. It's all subliminal messaging. They put it in there to make you think that it's something else. This is what I happen to believe. You know how we've been talking about for the past couple of years that when Jesus rolls out of the clouds, it's going to be like a Project Bluebeam or something that is going to be like an AI Jesus. All right. This is going to be AI Jesus. They're going to make this thing look so real. I think that they're already doing this with some of the actors in Hollywood and stuff. I know that sounds conspiratorial and everything.
I will get out my tinfoil hat.
I really think that some of them are clones.
Mhm.
As it is. I really, so why couldn't they do the same with Jesus? All right. Jesus the Christ, in other words. And notice how the Christ, like I said, is attached to all of these mythologies from below. Okay. You have different Christ figures in the Old Testament. One of them being Cyrus, who was anointed. Another one being Herod and Pontius Pilate, who were anointed ones in the book of Acts. All right. Ones that are anointed over Israel, Jerusalem, and these places. By the way, here's something that's really fascinating. You know, during the days of the Dark Ages, you had a book called The Golden Legends that came out. And The Golden Legends was a book about the adventures of the disciples of Jesus, Mary Magdalene, Joseph of Arimathea, what was going on over here. What's fascinating is that a lot of this takes place over there in Europe. All right. A lot of it takes place in the European countries, but also during this time frame, if this is true that these Hebrews were Iberians and they're Spain and part of Italy and all this, when Jesus was around and Jesus did what he did in that day, his kingdom spread throughout the world, okay? And whether it was Gnostics, whatever you want to call it, Gnostics or whatever, because Marcion would have been like considered a Gnostic, all right? He believed in the demiurge. He believed in the archons. He believed that Jesus came from heaven above. He didn't believe in the pagan virgin birth. He actually believed that Paul was actually the only true disciple of Jesus, and that was it. All right. Which is fascinating because according to if you read the Bible in which we have today, if you accept all 66 books of that Bible today, for what it says. Oh, the KJV is perfect and there's nothing wrong with it. You have to accept preterism. You have to absolutely accept the idea that Jesus returned in 70 AD. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You're not having integrity with the scriptures if you don't. But if you think that maybe there was something else that occurred during the days of the earlier parts of the Roman Church under Constantine, and that when the four Gospels were written and they tried to associate Jesus with Yahweh and all these things, then you start to come upon a new conclusion on things. That maybe they have placed it in such a way to make you think that everything was done and over with. But what if the people that were there during the days of Jesus are the people that are there in Spain today, in the Catholic Church? They are known as the crypto Jews. Now, how we just said Spain is known as the Spanish? What does the word Spanish mean? Span means hidden. Ish is man. It's talking about the hidden man. Okay? The Spanish, which actually in the Iberian Peninsula, they went by the Hispanics. All right? They were actually known as the hidden man because they hid themselves under the guise of a different religion, in other words. And you can see this all across the timeline of history. For instance, the rabbis have actually said that we put the Old Testament out there as a front to make people believe that this is what we actually believe, but in actual reality, we believe behind closed doors Kabbalah and the Talmud and the Zohar, okay? So they make you think that this is what they believe, but in actual reality, this is what they believe behind closed doors. They did the same thing during the Roman Catholic Church. During the Roman Catholic Church, there were Hispanics or Spanish people, Spanish Jews, which were known as the Sephardics, which all means is Spanish. Sepharad means Spanish. What they did was they set themselves up in leadership positions in the Roman Catholic Church, but behind closed doors, they were crypto Jews and they practiced Kabbalah. They acted like Christians on the forefront, but in actual reality, behind the closed doors, they practiced this worship to Jehovah and Yahweh. Okay?
Because they believe that like killing people is a good idea to them.
Of course they do. Of course they do. Even Joshua, after Moses was slaughtering people, he was killing people. Okay? So there's something that really sticks out with this is that the Spanish Inquisition, the killing of all these people, if they thought they were doing a righteous thing by the eyes of God, what God did they think they were doing something righteous by? Yahweh. Because Yahweh is their God. He's a God of duality. He's a conquering war and military deity. Okay? But what happens is, even when the Christ was sent, Barabbas was sent as well, the one that was sent from heaven, not a virgin birth, but he was sent to set the record straight. Okay? Because what I happen to believe is this, is that there were multiple messiahs across the civilizations. Okay? For instance, in Egypt, you had the savior Moses. Okay? In the days of the flood, you had Noah. During the time of the start of the religion of the Iberians, you have Abraham. Okay? You have different people that are being anointed. They're being Christed, in other words. They're being basically they're becoming the container or the house of God. But
because they were physical anointed, but with the oil rubbed on their heads or what?
Right. Well, so now when we think about this, if you did have different Christs across different ancient civilizations, all it was the repackaged idea for Samaria, Babylon, Acadia, Greece, Rome. But when it gets up to Rome, it's like, There's a stop here. There's a stop at Rome, because now it's not, you see, the people thought, because they were so attached to the idea of the pagan virgin birth, they were so attached to these things that they thought that this was their savior. But in actuality, the one that was sent came to come down, such as a time as this, to sit there and say, no, you guys, this has been going on since the beginning of time. These pagan virgin births, all these things that are going on. I'm sent from heaven, and I'm here to tell you, all you guys are doing is you're going into a lie of the snake eating its own tail. Because ultimately, all this is a repackaged idea that has come down through the ages, and I have come that you may have life. And I have come to set you free from this delusion, because you keep on going through this rebirth cycle, and you're stuck in hell here. You're stuck in this reincarnation trap. But I have come to set you free. And I have come to tell you, that guy Yahweh, yeah, I don't serve him. Matter of fact, my Father is much greater than that guy Yahweh. That guy Yahweh that you think is the God of this world and everything, all he is a part of the demiurge, and he's set up in a lying set of 7 spirits, 7 different manifestations for 7 different ancient civilizations. The number 7 having everything to do with this world. This is why Jesus actually resurrected on the 8th day. Okay? Because
8th day?
The 8th day, yes.
Oh. I'm thinking of the spiritual resurrection.
Because 8 is a number of new beginnings. All right? Like Sabaoth, the name Sabaoth, which comes from Sabbath. Yahweh of Sabaoth, or Sabaoth, Lord of hosts, Yahweh of hosts. Why do you think let's go to John chapter 5, verse 16. Let's actually read this. Yeah. I don't trust old souls. Why haven't you escaped Samsara yet? That's funny. Ay, ay, ay.
Yeah, well, in the TikTok live yesterday, and I was talking about out-of-body experience, I see dark entities, and they said maybe you perceive them to be dark entities, and I said, oh, well, some of it's true. When I saw Red Pair of Eyes, of the entity, it was gentle with me and put me back in my body slowly. So,
Interesting.
So, like, when you see dark entities with teeth and all that, and you rebuke it, it's just, it might not even be evil. But yeah, you just do that because it's within your nature.
Well, so another thing that they do with like horror films is, I'm sure that they see some of these like things as it is before they actually put it out there. In other words, like for instance, like It, all right? It or Freddy Krueger or something of that nature. You have even Pazuzu of The Exorcist. I mean, the frickin' name Pazuzu was actually an ancient name from Sumeria. That means the 7 deities that are embodied in one. All right? You can't make this stuff up. They know exactly what they're doing. So
I heard something fascinating about like what you watch, and your brain doesn't realize that it's not happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
And when you judge people, your brain thinks you're judging yourself. Like all these things that we like
Project.
Like it's a reflection. Mm-hmm. It's literally, like your brain is just going to take in that information and assume that it's about you. So you have to be very careful what you watch.
Absolutely. I want to piggyback onto that. There was actually some studies done for.
There was people in the TikTok live last night said that those entities you see might have been a reflection of you.
Precisely.
Wow.
If you have
Precisely.
fear in your heart, then what you see is going to be
To the
fearful.
pure, all thing is pure. Mhm.
I've heard that.
I get it.
Yeah, because even like the
I
demons
get
you
it.
see, or whatever the case may be, that could be a representation of your lower self.
Mhm.
And you're caught between two worlds, between your higher self and your lower self. It's almost like you're in
In your
purgatory.
spirituality, isn't it?
So I've heard that
Hey,
before.
Missy, on the psychology study.
Oh yeah, so they had like, because I attribute a lot, like all of my wins and my competitions are the ones where I spent the most time in my head visualizing. So there was actually a study done with these basketball players. They had one group actually physically practice 3
Mhm.
hours a day, whatever, and the other group just visualize it. And the difference in the improvement was marginal. Like they both improved vastly. And the ones who just visualized it was only like 10% less than the ones who actually put in the physical hours. So the mind, so like say you have a bad dream about your person cheating on you and you wake up mad at them and you still feel it because the mind doesn't know the difference between actual reality and just what you've consumed, what you've seen. So with what you were saying, as far as what you put into your mind is so important, because your body really, your brain doesn't tell the difference. It doesn't know the difference between it actually happening to you and it being something outside of you.
Wow. Interesting. I'm trying to get more involved in that too. Like I said, I'm trying to read this book right now by Bruce Lipton. I like read like the first chapter. I've been stuck on this as it is because I think I'm gonna make the video for tomorrow session on this tomorrow. Is there anything that you like for the Patreon channel, for a video on the Patreon channel? Is there anything that you guys want me to touch on? Anything
Well,
specific?
I was gonna say, like, you know, you got the three male trinity that's on you, Anchor and Limbo, ties into Jesus the good, Jesus the Christ, and Jesus Barabba. I can see the connection in that.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because
Okay.
instead of Jesus the good, it's Isus the good. Mother cannot be named the father and the mother. It's just like Jesus is Isus is us.
Well, yeah, we're all attached in one and the same.
Yeah.
We're just having different experiences. But is there anything you guys want me to touch on at all? As far like last week I did Amun Ra revealed. All right. Is there anything that you want me to hit on um that you guys would specifically like to see? All right. Minus the alternate timeline bit. All right. I ain't doing that. Not right now, at least.
What about the history rewritten and erased, like they did in those days? That's why there's all for confusion in this world because no one really truly knows the real time and day. But in a spiritual realm, there's time doesn't exist.
Right.
So
Exactly.
what is a four dimension to you?
The fourth dimension,
It's us.
I would say it's within.
Yeah.
It's what's within. All right. Because I think even what Missy said about how the two basketball teams, how one visualized and the other one practiced for 3 hours. When we look at that, it's they say we only use so much of our brain, and it is. Those basketball players that were visualizing it. How do you know how many hours they were visualizing their training for?
I want to say it was equivalent to the actual physical training.
It was 3 hours.
I think so. I'd have to, this was a long time ago that I looked into this study, but I think it was equivalent.
Wow. That's really, as a martial artist, all right, as a martial artist, we do forms, okay? This actually reminded me of something that we used to do. Especially at a higher rank of training, what we would do is we would close our eyes and visualize ourselves doing the movements. And after you get done doing the movements within your head, you're breaking a sweat.
Mhm.
It's pretty cool.
There's
Or
actual physical response to internal thought. Like thought becomes things. It literally, It literally happens.
It's amazing. It really is.
Your thoughts become your words, and your thoughts become your actions in the end, and it defines your character.
But it can happen just as quickly as what Josh was saying, having that physical response, like that's as quick as it happens. Your body physically responds to it. Your cells, you are created in the image of a creator. You create reality with the word, with the thought.
It's beautiful.
The logos.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. It's absolutely beautiful because when you like I said, when I used to do that, there's also something else that happens when like say, and this is something else that I would do, because my dad's grandmaster would teach us this, but if you turn music on and you hit a heavy bag to the beat of the sound, it actually it so what happens is when you spar someone, their technique looks slower coming at you. All right. But it's not because you're slowing their technique down, you're speeding your brain up.
You sync your two
crazy.
hemispheres.
You're syncing your two hemispheres. That's what it is right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating. Another thing is that there's a way. Well, no, that's. I mean, I'll just tell you guys. I mean, it's since I'm on the topic of martial arts for a second. There's actually something you can do where you can electrocute someone in extra reality. My dad has been electrocuted by my grandmaster in the martial arts, and the way it works is when your body is worked up to a sweat, as it is, and your fingers are wet or whatever. When you touch someone in a nerve, it sends an electrical response, and it's like a volt of electricity that goes throughout your body and everything.
We're Elohim's angels.
It's
Owen, Dan.
it's really cool because what I think is that as we evolve, we're going to start to see people that like are in arts, the music fields, religious studies, all these things. They're going to get to the point where people are just going to think that they're a phenomenon, but what they have learned how to do is they learned how to channel their
Master
energy.
it.
They've learned how to master these things. Yeah. But
You
literally,
are what you manifest.
yeah, exactly. You are what you manifest, but it's very fascinating what Missy said about visualization, as it is.
Strange is stranger than fiction.
Yeah, because I can walk away from like my martial arts training for 6 months, and I'm actually better than than where I was 6 months before that, 6 months prior. It's really interesting, just the way it works, as it is. But okay, let's go ahead and get back to this. It's just fun. It's almost like you don't have to train, but you can visualize yourself training,
Mhm.
doing the movements, and then you go back to it and you're even better than what you were.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. But
It's
I think,
what you do with your physical body, it's what you do with your spiritual
yeah,
body.
yeah, you're react like it's almost like in the Bible, you have in the book of Daniel, for instance, you have the angel Michael, or no, Gabriel, coming to Daniel. And when he goes back, he sits there and says that, hey, Daniel, I got to get back there. I got to go help Michael. He's fighting the Prince of Persia right now. It's like he's fighting the Prince of Persia. He's getting ready to fight the Prince of Persia in the spirit realm. But in the physical realm, the Persian Empire didn't manifest till about 100, 150 years later. So that goes to show you that the spirit realm is ahead.
Proceeds. Yep.
So would you say the same thing with the visualization? It's almost like operating almost like in.
You operate in the spirit and it
Yep.
comes forth into the physical. This is why, I mean, you can see once you realize the power of your thoughts, you will want to take every thought captive. You'll notice the little sneaky ones in the background creating realities that you don't want just because it's programming that it's just instilled in
Just
us.
like how trauma in our ethereal body
Mhm.
then manifests into the physical body later with
Yep.
time. you'll get a disease or
Dis-ease, yep, becomes a disease.
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. It really is. Okay, so another thing that I would sit there and say, and I thought about this. I thought about the idea that most of civilization in which we live in is wrapped up in social media and apps, and especially if you're single, dating apps and everything. So what you tend to do is you start to focus all of your attention on those things instead of like on bettering yourself and what you can get better at. So at the end of the day, when someone comes down to it, because they rather focus their attention on this stuff over there instead of like their musical talents or their art abilities or their religious studies or whatever the case may be, they amount, and I hate to say it, it's like they could have took all that time and energy and put it towards this over here, and they could have made something out of their self.
And then that thing that they're looking for outwardly is unattainable, because once you attain it yourself, it'll automatically like attracts like, right? So instead of looking out here for it, it's like a magnet going at the wrong end of the magnet and it's being pushed away, you know? So when you cultivate it within yourself, then it comes to you.
Things come to you.
Balancing.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I thought about that and everything. I'm like, what if people actually stop focus on these things and they started focusing on their talents and their abilities and stuff? How much greater, it's all a distraction. That's all it is. It's all a distraction as it is. I mean, I was on the dating apps before and they get freaking addictive. All right. But next thing you know is that you're focusing on this, and then you're like, I could have put my time and energy over here, and I could have been way further ahead of the ball game than where I am now. All right. So it's just, it's interesting the way the world works, but it's almost like we're going through an evolutionary period, and we have to go through this in order to reach our potential as creators in Earth. So anyways, before we start wrapping things up, let's go to John chapter 5, verse 17. Okay, let's go ahead and read this. Whoever wants to read it.
Yeah. Now the man who had been healed did not know where it was, for Jesus had disappeared in the crowd that was there.
Is it
5:17?
5:16, I think.
Oh, right. Therefore, the Jews started persecuting Jesus because he was doing such things on the Sabbath day.
Verse 17? He says something.
But Jesus answered them, my Father has been working until now, and I have been working.
Boom. Okay. Look at that. So we don't have a rest day with this Jesus. This Jesus isn't even talking about a Sabbath day. The word Sabbath or Zabioth means hosts. So Yahweh Sabaoth is Yahweh of hosts or Yahweh of armies. All right. He's the God of armies. All right. The God of warfare. All right. This is, I would call Ares. All right. The God of war. All right. Now, when we look at this, we begin to realize that Sabaoth, who is Yahweh, attached with the Sabbath day, he's completely opposite than Jesus, the one that continually works. All right. It's almost like during this point in time, but by the way, something else that's fascinating here. In John chapter 5, if you go to the very beginning, go to John chapter 5, verse 1 and 2. Let's look at this.
After this, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches.
Okay. Now, here's what's fascinating about this. if you actually look at this in the Codex Sinaiticus, it says when he went to the sheep gate, he was near the Vaticanus. The Vatican.
Mhm.
Kid you not. It's so what happens is if the temple is what is known as this Vaticanus, all right, and the Roman is the Jewish law, and Jewish law is the Roman law, when he goes to the religious leaders near this sheep gate, near the temple, and he heals this man, and the man is raised, there's these religious leaders that come along. Also, these religious leaders, their name is also known as the Pontifex. All right, Pontifex Maximus. They have the same the Romans wear the same garments as the Jews, by the way. The priests do. All right. They have the same exact freaking garments on. All right. What happens is they're sitting there saying that Jesus is healing someone, and why are you doing this on the Sabbath day? Okay. Well, Jesus says that my Father continually works and I continually work until this day. That should be the dead giveaway right there. That what he's saying right there is, I don't serve your God. All right. I don't serve who you serve. I don't serve the Roman God, and I don't serve the Jewish God. I have my God, which is from above, and it's above your God. All right.
So they saw how everybody was following Jesus and his teachings, and they wanted them to follow their God instead. So they mixed the two.
You got it.
It seemed like, okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Hence for the Spencer Brothers and the three male Trinity.
Yes, this is exactly what they did. The three male Trinity with Constantine, when he was a Sol Invictus sun worship, ultimately, this is going back to Sumeria. It's Enki, Anu, and Enlil. All right. All right, let's see what Missy
Sorry,
said.
that's the study on basketball for.
All right, I'm going to have to read 23% without touching women. Third group did nothing after 30 days. He tested them again. The first group improved by 24%. The second group improved by 23% without touching a basketball. The third group did not improve, which was expected. Interesting.
So it was only an hour. It was only an hour.
Okay. All right. They both only did 1 hour.
They both only did 1 hour. One actually practicing, one group doing the visualizations, and the third group did nothing. The ones actually practicing improved by 24%. The ones only visualizing improved by 23%.
Wow.
And then the third group didn't improve at all.
Wow. That's awesome. That like 1% difference.
1% difference.
A 1% difference. So what they could have literally done is, you see, because exercise is fatiguing as well. So you can't just sit there and always exercise. Matter of fact, you're going to get your best response through your exercise, like even lifting weights, 45 minutes to an hour. That's the way I see it, at least.
Mhm.
I work out 3 days a week. When I was working out 6 days a week, I got less of a response compared to 3, as it is. You know, Missy. So when I just work out 3 days a week, I remember going back into the gym and one of the personal trainers sitting there saying to me, he was like, wow, what have you been doing different? It's like, I've been working out less. He was like,
Resting, but yet you're still working.
Right, exactly. And it's funny because he said, dude, you look 2 times bigger. I was like, I just been working out less. That's the only thing I've been doing that's different. So what ends up happening is you start to realize that it's almost like 10% of it can be physical, but the other 90% is mental, in other words. And if we can apply that to our life in general, we can improve ourselves.
To every aspect of it. Mm-hmm.
Every aspect.
Meditation is so important.
Yes.
You meditate on, like
Should we practice our meditation then?
Let Melissa talk for a second.
Oh, I was just saying, when you meditate on your manifestations, like what you want to see in your life come about, then that's how you create it in your reality. Just think about it. Visualize.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Visualize it. Think
and
about
do it from first person perspective. So a lot of times, and especially when I first started I would, you know, fantasize or visualize from like a bird's eye view almost. And I would see like myself and my situation from this person, like I was looking at it.
Uh-huh.
It gets way better if you do it from first row seat, like from you're actually submerged into like the simulation, because then we are submerged in the simulation. Here we are. So when you do that and you visualize, rather than because it's so easy for me to do it like I'm watching a movie from the outside, you visualize from first person perspective.
Wow. Wow.
And then create those feelings within, also those emotions that will come along with that visualization.
Feel the feelings, that is energy in motion, that energy, the emotion puts it into motion. You actually feel it. So when I would visualize myself from a movie view on the stage doing my posing and winning, it changed. I placed way higher when I did it on the stage from me actually being first person, and then hearing my name get called, crying. Like I would visualize and I'd be sobbing in real life, happiness, oh, I won, and I'd really win. So you have to actually feel it, visualize it from first person perspective. It's amazing. It's good stuff.
I gotta run, guys. It's Cubs meeting.
Can we
Love
meditate
you.
or not? Can we?
Bless. Hey, tell Cub I said hi, and tell him I want to talk to him here soon.
Okay.
All right.
Melissa,
All right.
um,
Melissa.
Melissa, you going doing TikTok live tonight or not?
Well, Ashley has a wedding, and I'm going over to a friend's house so that our boys can swim. So I'm not sure. Maybe.
All right.
Maybe.
Have fun.
Thank
I
you.
wish I
But
could
like,
join you.
we were gonna
I
say
know,
like
right?
practice a meditation, but like, you don't
Well-
want to. You don't want to.
What was that?
Well, I was gonna say that earlier. Like, should we just do a quick meditation or not? If we don't want to do that, that's fine.
Oh, right now I have to run. It's Cubs meeting
Oh.
now, but yeah, we should do that one day for sure. I'm sorry, guys. I have to jump off
That's right.
to.
Yeah, I get
Take
it.
care, Melissa.
Bye. Love you.
Bye. Love you.
Love you.
Have a
Bye.
good one. Have a good day. All right. So, yeah. Ali, you wanted to say something. Did you want to say something?
Well, I did say like practice a little meditation to see if our minds are calm because I'm feeling that nagging pain in my neck.
Your neck's bothering you?
Yeah.
Why is it? Did you sleep wrong or something?
No,
It's just
it feels like a stabbing pain, but it's not.
it's
I'm
just
not-
hurting.
Yeah.
I will tell you this much. Okay. Give me one moment. Okay.
Mm.
One moment.
Would you be open to receiving some energy healing, Allie?
Yes, please. That'd be nice. I got my foot on the table, lower table. Service. Release my negative thoughts.
Okay. Oh, doing some energy.
There you go.
You know, I've always thought Reiki is always pretty cool and stuff.
I think that's technically, I mean, we didn't call it Reiki, and I took some hands-on spiritual healing classes through Morris Pratt. I didn't finish it. It was a weird time. I ended up leaving my spiritualist church and started reading scripture. And but I think it's technically similar, very similar to Reiki. But
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to look into that a little bit more, as it is.
Sort of feeling a bit of warm belly in my heart. Warmth in my heart, belly and the heart. on the TikTok live, and when I get the chance to say it, when I say it, it's just like he was just like Ali, let other people speak. I was like, yeah, well, I'm just saying. I thought, fucking hell, I won't go on that live then if they're gonna be like that. Do you know what I mean? But he did say in the end, Ali, thank you for putting me on my.
You got to watch out. All right. I had a guy, I was talking to a couple of people yesterday, and there's a guy on there. He's really excited and everything. Well, actually, no, he tries to sit there and say that I get really excited and everything. He's like, he's such a babe in Christ. Look at him get excited. That's what he said about me. But every single time I get on there and I talk to someone's like, dude, the knowledge and revelation that you bring, one of the smartest guys on TikTok, but then this other guy has an issue with me and he sits there and says that, hey, he's such a babe in Christ and stuff. It's like, dude, it's like the things that
it's kind of an insult, isn't it?
He's trying to insult me. That's what he's trying to do. All right. It is what it is at the end of the day, but he continually does it. The thing is, I don't let it bother. I try not to let it bother me on there.
But those so-called spiritually enlightened people, I will be honest, I'm not going to name names, but like he just comes up with assumption. He asked me a question. He goes, Ali, tell me if I'm wrong or not, but do you drink alcohol? I was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I just sense a bit of anger from you. It's like that. And I thought to myself, that ain't the psyche in that sense. He's psychic other times, but other times he's not. So just goes to show you can't trust human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when I put my word out there, like he said, say it at peace, but say it in a loving way. I said, well, but it's hard when you keep fucking interrupting. Yeah, and that's why I start interrupting other people.
Yeah, it's crazy. It really is. It's one big mess on there sometimes.
Just, you know what? I can't wait to have a mountain follower so I can do my own life and talk for hours.
How many followers do you have right now?
199 on TikTok, far as I can see, anyway.
How many do you need in order to make a live?
Well, when I join in request to be on someone else's live, I can talk then. That's about it. I can, if you were on live on TikTok, and if you asked me to join, requested for me to join, I would have joined, for example, or I could request to join if I wanted.
Yeah, I think to do your own, you needed 1,000 to start your own live, but I think you only
well, if I'm in the Commonwealth, it might have been different. If I'm in the Commonwealth, it might be different because I'm in the UK.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it could be different because being in the UK. It might be 700 for you.
Yeah.
Might be.
Yeah. Might be.
That's actually a lot. That's 300 less than what it was.
But then I get followers that dropped off from following me. I thought, I don't give a fuck anyway.
I wouldn't worry about it at the end of the day.
Just like I only have 8 subscribers onto my YouTube channel. Do I fight over that? No.
Oh, I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to be, it can be a pain. It really can. All right, let's put it that way.
I hate being perceived. Stop perceiving me.
I got,
like
people that are like come in, like even on this channel, the Patreon channel, I got people that are added and they quit and they just go back and forth, it seems like. And
like a yo-yo.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. I mean, in actual reality, you see, the thing is, especially coming on here and going through things, and this is what I really wanted to do for people, like get on these Patreon sessions and go through things and answer questions and try to get everyone on the same terms. I mean, I know we set it for like an hour and 15 minutes, you know, as well as I do. We do about almost 2 times that every single time. So, I have to go ahead and take the playlist and put it out there to the people on Patreon and the channel, because I think we have like over 30, no, probably 40 hours.
I did the math on it the other day. If we've got
no, man, no, and you know what she said to me when I asked her a question about reincarnation? I said, Nan, when you die, do you like to be reincarnated? She was like, no, thank you.
If we've
Oh.
got 21 videos on an average
And
two
I
and a
asked
half
her, do you
hours per
believe in
video,
God? She
that's
goes like, in my own
52
words,
and a half
I do.
hours.
52 and a half hours.
Mhm.
I figured so. It's a lot of time. There's a lot of time plugged in with this.
I also asked my Nan, do you believe in Jesus? She goes, in my way, yeah, I do, but I'm a Christian in my own rights. In other words, she's not interested. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
She knows a bit about religion, like, but she just like, yeah, whatever. She prays, but
People are always going to be like that, Ollie. I wouldn't even worry about it. I've gotten to the point where it's just like it doesn't even matter anymore. I'm not doing this for anything except just trying to help people wake up. That's it.
The
At the end of
deeper
the
you sink into the knowing that we are all one on our own little walk, you have more grace and respect for where they're at on their walk.
Exactly.
yeah.
That's the main thing. So, you guys have plans today?
Hmm?
You guys have
Nothing.
nothing?
Oh, yesterday it was all right. Well, TikTok was all right live yesterday, but I did a video yesterday and today. Recent TikTok video.
I got to make two. Don't remind me. I'll probably do it later or tomorrow morning.
Well, I did two TikTok videos. One yesterday, one today. It has a picture of dove and a Bible on it. I told him that the Bible we have today has been infiltrated, erased, and rewritten throughout the history by the church fathers. And I said there's a deception of it all. I sound like a fucking right retard when I'm on TikTok live. When I'm on the fucking TikTok.
I don't even
doing a
Rewrite
TikTok
that
video.
script. Rewrite that. That's
Yeah,
my
don't-
friend you're talking about. Don't be such a bully.
Oh yeah.
You don't
I-
sound like an idiot.
I like that video you made the other day, Missy. I think it was like optimistic.
Ominous optimism.
Yeah, ominous optimism. It means that it has to go the right way.
It has to go the right way.
It
Good
has
things are coming. There's nothing you can do about it.
whatsoever. So that was awesome. I
Me,
mean,
I like most of your videos, both you and Missy's, but like, I don't give a fuck who likes mine or not. I just put whatever I fucking resonate with
I haven't really made any videos.
most of the time.
I mean, I made a video the other day, but that was about it. But as far as everything goes, I'm kind of just like I don't want to get on there and tell someone something and then change my mind. So I'm trying to get solidified in the views. I mean, I always know things are going to change. I always know that. The main thing is that I really believe that this is it. This is what it all comes down to. It really is.
Someone out there needs what you have now. Even though what you have now is going to change and evolve, just as they are eventually going to change and evolve. What you're seeing or what you're concerned about is the perception and judgment of others that, oh, he's changed his ways, oh, he's changed his mind, oh, and it's really just a judgment you're putting on yourself. By
Really?
you stopping yourself is really just somebody out there needs what you have.
Yeah.
I was supposed to
And there's always jealousy.
Well, I had two people on the YouTube the other day. They were like, dude, why are you changing your mind on things again? And I gave them a question. I said, are we supposed to evolve spiritually as we are on life's journey? They couldn't answer it. But and I talked to Ashley about it too. She was like, she said, Josh, I don't want to be learning under someone that doesn't change their views.
Exactly. That doesn't grow and evolve.
Wouldn't you? Okay, so if someone is stuck in their views, I would call that pride. All right. And what I mean by that is they're
Someone that doesn't want to change.
right. They're not going to humble themselves to sit there and say that, hey, maybe I have it wrong. In other words. So It's just life's journey.
But we don't have a right to say that other people's wrong.
No, that's the last thing we want to do, but that's what happens naturally as we evolve. So, all right, guys.
It's in our human nature to judge people.
Of course it is. What is this?
No, I'm just doing a funny face.
No. Missy
Can you see that well? It's a piece of art. It's called The Power of a Book.
Oh.
And how it can make such a significant difference. I was supposed to share that with you the other week.
Looking at it from like different viewpoints.
This is just looking at layers of bricks.
Well, see that little book? It's almost like The Princess and the Pea. You guys know that story, The Princess and the Pea?
I've heard that. Yeah.
That she could feel that little pea under all those mattresses because that little thing made such a big difference.
Yeah.
The book that you have to write, somebody needs, even if your views change.
Yeah. There's like
It's
different
okay to change. It's okay to grow and evolve.
Yeah.
It's like being regrowth, isn't it?
Being resurrected.
Spiritual regrowth. But I don't mean like to criticize other people because everyone's on different journeys.
Oh, does it? Jesus says that you're pruned. I mean, pruning just doesn't have to be like the trials you go through in life. It could be like the teachings that you have. Like you have to be trimmed up or whatever. So it makes sense. It does. Like
to me personally, I'm in Ra. When you go moon, darkness, because we're in darkness. Ra is coming to the light out of darkness. So through I'm in Ra, I'm in darkness, traveling into the light of Ra, because there's a light at the end of a tunnel. You go through trial. That's what I believe.
Were you able to watch that video I did on Amun Ra Revealed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In there with Alexander the Great, he named himself after Amun, Jupiter, Zeus. Okay. Because Amun in the Bible is Amun. All right. It's a certain people group. When he named himself Amun, Zeus, Jupiter, or Amun, Jupiter, Zeus, he's taken three different religions and putting them together. Amun Egyptian, Zeus Greece, Jupiter Rome. Okay. And
it's all connected, isn't it?
It's all connected. What he's saying is that like the main honcho god was leading him, who was Jupiter in one religion, Zeus in another, and Amun in another. Okay. Because they're all the same. And he was the embodiment of that deity. That's why they actually say that it was supernatural what Alexander the Great did when he conquered the known world. So, but all right, guys, we're gonna be wrapping this up as it is. I think we ended on a pretty.
So how are Tiberius and Julius? What's the relation of Tiberius to Julius Caesar?
Oh, Tiberius. Okay, so you were asking like the familial relationship.
Yes.
I think he was a cousin. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Okay. Because I remember when I think it was Easter time, we were talking about how Mary went in to Tiberius's courtroom. Yeah. And so I'm curious what the relation is to Caesar, if Caesar's Jesus, the Christ.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that. It would be that the Caesars. Okay. Yeah, we'll have to.
Because JC is Julius Caesar, just like most people say it's Jesus Christ.
He's not like. He's not like the kingship is almost like the Christ. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, the Christ is a title. All right. But there was someone, if you remember when I messaged you the other day about James the Just, he was actually known as the Christ. All right. He led the church in Jerusalem with the 10 Commandments, following Yahweh, all that stuff in Jerusalem. And this guy, Paul would have to go pay homage to. All right. And different people would have to pay.
Yeah, but like when like in the Apostle of Paul in his letters, right? I will be honest, when he says we're under grace, not we're of grace, not under the law. So how what on earth would he still pay homage to that God in the temple? It seems like a contradictory to me. That's the lady from the Invisible God when she said,
Acts 7.
Michelle, and she said like if Paul was going up to the temple, whereabouts was Paul going up to the temple to pay homage? Is it in the book of Hebrews or something?
Acts, the book of Acts.
The book of Acts. All right, so that would have been a contradictory when he says we're under grace, not under law, and that he considered law as rubbish at the end of his letters.
Well,
so why would he still go up to the temple at that time? It just don't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know. The book of Acts is kind of iffy too. You got to remember that the book of Acts was written after the Gospel of Luke. And as we already know, Gospel of Luke is actually a ripoff from the Gospel of the Lord, which is Marcion's Gospel.
Yeah, the Evangelion.
Yeah. So you got to look at the Acts of the Apostles. It's called the Acts of the Apostles. Apostles means apostasy. There's something weird that's going on here.
Because I see a lie in the book of Acts, and if that's the case, but apart from the chapter 7 where Stephen was getting ready to be stoned, it exposed the God of the Old Testament who Jews worshipped.
Yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on.
So from where I'm saying, there's some truths within the book of Acts as well as a famine of lies.
I would say so. Yeah.
So because the book of Acts is more like a dualistic outlook. Because like if you look at it, it has a dualistic narrative because it has some fountain of truths as well as a famine of lies. Famine of lies.
Yeah.
So going to separate the truth from the lies and the lies from the truth.
There's some weird stuff going on in there. I'd have to dig into it more, but like the main focus with this is mainly the idea of where the Jews come from, how they're Iberians, how there were two Jesuses at the trial, how like this is also written in accordance with earlier history, early church fathers, repackaged idea of Constantine, so on and so forth. It's all the same thing. It's the snake that eats its own tail at the end of the day.
It's most of it, yeah. I mean, you know, every time I think of Father of Light and Mother, Jesus the Good, and the Invisible Spirit, that the fact he spiritually walked on water, the Spirit walked on water, when disciples saw him and thought they'd seen the ghost, and he did. But he's in the human form, wrapped in the flesh. He came and descended and dwelling in embodiment of the person. Right, and now, like, or let's say,
another.
You know, when I think of Jesus the Good, I feel all of a sudden when I read the book of Marcion, I feel that one feeling within me. I don't know what it is.
Another fascinating thing, and they say they moved it, but the house that Jesus grew up in, Jesus the Christ of Nazareth, it's actually in Loreto, Italy now. They actually moved it to Italy. I don't personally, I don't think they moved nothing. I think this was his house back there in Italy, as it is.
Yeah, that's what I think. I mean, you got Jesus where he was brought up, like he was in all top part in Italy. That's what I think from the get go. There's the Romans,
right? Because the Romans are attached to the Idumeans, and the Idumeans, which are Edom, is Rome, which is fascinating because Samaria, according to Pliny the Elder, was a part of Edom or Rome. And Samaria is another name for Saint Maria, okay, or San Maria. And Saint Maria was actually a place in Italy, all right? So you got like all this stuff going on. This is also where Jesus meets the Samaritan woman at the well, or the woman from Saint Maria. So we got a bunch
When
of,
he says we Jews know what we worship, that don't make sense. You Samaritans don't know what you worship, whereas we Jews know what we worship because salvation is off for the Jews. Now, most people say it was for the Jews because they're the ones that were lost. So they didn't know what they worship. That don't make sense, does it?
That's not what it says. In actuality, the real translation is salvation does not come from the Jews. That's what it says. It doesn't say salvation is from the Jews. The original Greek translation of it, it says it does not come from the Jews.
It's from the souls.
It would be from Barabbas.
Yeah.
It's the son of the Father, the one that was sent with the words of the Father, the one that was sent, not born. Okay. Remember,
That was like Logos, the words is the Logos of Jesus Barabbas. Yeah, that makes sense now.
38 times in the Gospel of John, it says Jesus was sent. It says, no man has ascended to heaven except he which descended from heaven. Okay. All right.
No one's seen God at any time, at any point in the beginning of John. Like,
Yeah, we got into that too with John the Baptist and everything. That's something really we'll look into.
the original Gnostic Christians then, or Gnostic believers, shall I say, and Marcions, right, especially, don't believe Jesus was born in the flesh. Don't believe that came in the flesh. He didn't.
That view didn't originate until the Council of Nicaea.
So now, if we were saying this to the church right now, we'd be called heretics.
You probably like, yeah, and some churches might stone you for it.
You know.
So I know it's
if I believe like Jesus was not born in the flesh, but he was a spirit that is divine spirit, Father, and the Mother, and the Logos that came to descended out of heaven to dwell in the embodiment of a person. What do you say to that? They're gonna call me a heretic. And what if he dwell in the embodiment of Jesus, but Abba? They're gonna spit on me.
They're not gonna like that. No. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. It's been a,
you know, when I think of Jesus the good, you know, every time I read the Marcion's Gospel, I feel love already in my heart. I don't know why it is. Out of the middle of nowhere, it just happens.
yeah,
in a peace.
He never, in that gospel, he never says that the prophets, Jesus was speaking of the prophets. He always shows that he was speaking against the prophets.
Yeah.
And everything that's going on, which is fascinating too, because we've been given an agenda that he was speaking towards the prophets. The truth is that Christianity today and most followers of Jesus, they're giving their power to Yahweh, all right, because they think that's his father. And they're empowering this world and the systems of this world. And they're being kept in this reincarnation trap, which is hell.
That's why Constantine brought the Old Testament in the new scriptures, the New Testament, all right, in with the new, because they believe that the God of the Old Testament is actually father of Jesus. How can Jesus be the son if he's actually the father?
I like what you were saying earlier,
spirit,
Allie. If he's how you with the wordplay, Father of Lights for Jesus Barabbas, because that's how he's still the Father and not the Son, because he can't be the Son and the Father.
Yeah,
right.
You're the Son and the Father if you're pagan virgin born, but
right.
if you're sent and you're just the Father of Lights, Jesus Barabbas, Father of Lights. How
because the bar actually, instead of, even though it means sun, it means light, sunlight, light,
sun, right? Not sun,
light,
but sun, right?
The sun, sun,
right?
But then it actually means light.
Well, in actuality,
the white light.
John 1:12, when it says, "But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God," the actual translation is children of God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
to
saw
become
that one of Golov's the other day.
We are the children of that light.
It's the children of God.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Children of light. I don't like the word God no more because I like the children of the Father and the Mother. That's what I prefer.
Yeah, Jesus always said the
Because in
Father.
the Protestant from John, he says he doesn't want to be called God. He's more than God.
Yeah.
Father.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. But
I'll call him divine source, like divine Father and Mother.
Mhm.
I'm not sure, like, any others will agree with me. I don't give a fuck, as far as I'm concerned.
you should.
Including that script, what is she called? Scriptural truth. If I say I believe in the Mother and the Father, divine spirit, she could just rebuke me, and I don't give a shit what she does.
We'll keep on going with this. We'll build off of this and get into more. I hope that this was helpful today.
Yeah, it was. Thank you, Josh. But there's another person I blocked off on your Sons of God Ministries a while back. Is that girl called Bella?
Bella
You
blocked me
believe
so
in-
long ago.
Oh,
Hey?
I said
Yeah.
Bella blocked me so long. Bella's got me blocked. Michelle's got me blocked.
Michelle has you blocked?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Really?
Yeah. I'm Team Joshua and she is not. So I got blocked.
Yeah. Ashley, yeah. Yeah, because Ashley said something to me about that too, and everything. She said that Michelle lady, she's on TikTok and everything. She just does it. The Invisible God Facebook
Yeah,
page.
yeah. I was like, I suddenly wasn't in the group. I was like, did she get rid of the group? What happened? I realized she had me blocked because we had a falling out. I guess I wasn't aware it was a falling out, but she took it as a falling out. But I was playing devil's advocate. She was, I don't know, I don't want this to be gossip, but she was saying some unfavorable things about you. And I was like, well, actually here, let me say some other things. And she
Generous.
didn't like it. She didn't like it.
Oh.
So
Yeah, she
Something
won't
to do
talk-
like Genesis or anything.
I don't
I
think it
bet
was
her.
jealousy. I think she was expecting me to kind of like how Andrew, I can't say her name correctly. Awakened Spirit came back into the group after she had left the group for a little bit. Andromeda, yes.
Yeah.
I guess Keith had, said something, can we, invite her back in since we have a new understanding? And Michelle was expecting me to kind of do what Keith did for Andrew to do for her, and I didn't, because that's not my place. I'm not your mommy. You can be a big girl if you want to come back. Like,
But the thing is with it, I like Michelle, I'll be honest, I do. She's good. She's got really good stuff.
I was
And
very
when I post about
surprised.
Jesus being on you, and I still believe it, and Mary being Gaia, that's just my esoteric faith and wisdom within. That's what I like. And that truth, was it truth is king? Truth is king. She criticized me for that, and I didn't like her. I told her to Michelle about it. Michelle said she had a lot of run-ins with this woman because this truth is king is talking shit out her ass. She is. She goes, oh, he's not on you, I got her. Oh, for fuck off.
Yeah,
Fuck off.
you see,
Just because you don't like it.
you got to bring the receipts if you want to say stuff like that. You can't just
What,
tell
me?
Huh?
What,
No,
me?
no. I'm saying anyone in general, as it is. You got to bring the receipts.
Well, because I have an esoteric understanding, spiritual understanding. It's like from my heart when I say on you and Gaia being reconciled together. And I said, oh, that in your group also. A lot of people like that. And that's my spiritual revelation at that time. And I still have that revelation. It's not my fault people don't like it and it's not criticizing me for it. And it's the same when I had that Bella, that Bella who believes in Jesus Barabba and all that, criticizing me for my belief and saying witchcraft is evil and all that. And I'll be like, I blocked her. I can't stand her shit anyway.
That's a problem when you start telling people that they're wrong. Just let them get on their journey. as it is.
I will let them get on the journey, but don't fucking ram it down my throat. I'll block Bella. That Bella, whatever her name. Apparently, Bella, she blocked you, didn't she, Missy?
Yeah.
Yeah, she blocked me too. It's fine. She reached
Bloody
out
hell.
a couple weeks ago though. She said,
Hey.
"Hey, I wanted to ask you a couple of things and stuff." So, but
I think when you go forward with this, as long as you are able to, and I'm confident that you'll be able to articulate this, that the difference between Christ and Barabbas does not negate the Christ consciousness. I mean,
No,
right, because
it's
still about what's within, making the inside of the cup clean so the
Right.
outside reflects it. So I
Right.
think initially what is so offensive to people is it feels like you're negating, you're taking away the Christ consciousness and all of the work that's been done within. But I see it now. Like I see the agenda. I see how the son of Yahweh and because I think we are Yahweh. We are the fallen angels.
Yeah.
Ye are gods.
Yeah,
Scriptures
that's
cannot be broken. He says that in John. Barabbas says that in John. Ye are
Uh-huh.
gods and the scriptures not be broken. We are Yahweh. And that needs to be reconciled back to the Father.
Right.
Yeah, and I agree, because I would have thought Jesus Barabbas would have been the true Christ, like Christ conscience within.
Right.
He already had that. He is more like an anointer, because like he Christed us with a Christ conscience of truth. I mean,
Well,
like that's what I believe personally.
that's we have to look at. We have to look at who was anointed and who was anointed at 30 years old and who was just anointed from the onset of things.
He was an anointer because he was already anointed from
right.
Even before time, like in time don't exist. If I just read from like this Marcion gospel right here, all right, it says Jesus, Marcion Church of Christ, but really it's Jesus, all right. I'll just quickly go into chapter 2.
Up, okay.
Okay, when I go on in chapter 2, all right, it says in the 15th year of reign of Tiberius Caesar, Pontius Pilate being a governor of Judea, and it's so forth about it. All right, and verse 2, it says Jesus descended out of the heavens into the Galilean city of Capernaum, a city near the sea, sorry, in the borders of Zebulun, and is it wow, what does that say?
It's Nephilim.
Eh?
It's Nephilim.
Nephilim.
Which is interesting. Right. It sounds a lot like.
And he taking on the appearance of a man. Appeared 30 years of age and teaching in the synagogue on the Sabbath day.
Yep, he goes in on the Sabbath day. He's going to
because he appeared a man.
He's going to smack him in the head.
So he took on the appearance of a man. He took on the appearance of a human form who appears 30 years of age. So that's when the spirit ministered into the flesh. And that flesh the spirit manifested itself in the human flesh. And the human spoke the logos of the spirit.
Notice how he doesn't even play around. He just goes straight after Yahweh. If you notice, when he goes into the Jewish synagogue on the Sabbath day, first off, there's demons in the synagogue. All right.
Yeah, and he cast out the demons.
He casts out demons first off. They're hearing a new doctrine. Then he sits there and says that he came to release the captives.
Exactly.
He's taken out of the synagogue. He's taken to the cliff of the mountain. He's getting ready to be thrown over headlong. And he passes through the midst of the people. This is the of it all. And notice,
they're saying, "What word is this? For this authority and power, he came out of the unclean spirit, and they came out
baptized." He was not baptized with water,
no,
like John the Baptist and all this stuff. This did not happen at all, according to the gospel. So it's fascinating. It really is.
And in the synagogue, there was a man which had the spirit of an unclean devil, cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Let us alone! what have we done you Jesus? Aren't you come to destroy us? I know you who you are, the Holy One of God, the Holy One of the Father, more like the Holy One, the Father. And Jesus rebuked him, saying, hold your peace and come out of him. And when the devil had thrown him in the midst, it came out of him and hurt him not.
Yeah. You see, what's fascinating is the first Jewish synagogue was actually found in Italy.
Yeah.
You can't make this up. All right.
Nope.
The first Jewish synagogue ever found was in Italy. All right. Matter of fact, inside the synagogue, it had the symbols of like the Ark of the Covenant and the menorah, but it also had the trident of Neptune of the Greeks.
You know, the seven candlestick of menorah, Noah El, elevated, exalted. Do you know, those that exalt themselves will be humble, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. So naturally speaking, it's talking about the seven deadly sins within us that need to be lit within. That's Kabbalah, that Jesus is that tree of life sent from above.
Right.
The bread of life.
Right.
The mother, the father. We call him Jesus. See, the word Jesus is actually Isus.
Isus. Yeah.
Isus.
All right. We're going to wrap things up now. Okay. After
Isus, not Zeus.
All right. So this was a blessing today, and we got this recording. Missy, you already know the deal. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
It's been nice talking to you because, like, even though it's been 4 people, but one left early.
Yeah, well, had to leave.
Yeah,
good. Yeah, she had to get out of here. She had Cubs meeting. Cub Cooker, he actually messaged me on TikTok the other day. He sent me he was like, dude, he was like, I'm really interested to hear what you're getting ready to say on some of the stuff. Because I think he hit a brick wall. I think people are hitting brick walls on things, and there has to be like a new thing that happens. Like,
what does he think of Jesus Barabbas then?
I haven't gotten into all that with him yet. I haven't gotten into any of that with them yet. So he's all about Samaria and the Anunnaki and stuff. So, but now we're gonna have to connect all the dots with it. All right, you guys have yourself a lovely day. I think I'm gonna go lay by the pool. The sun's out right now.
Oh, nice. I've got a gloomy day today.
I'm
jealous.
I'm just going to tell you as well. It's nearly 5:45. It's nearly 10 to 6. It's 17:48 in my country, UK. So it's like literally 5:45 or 5:45 nearly.
Yeah,
it's nice.
I gotta get some sun. I'm pale. If I don't get some sun and I stay in here even longer, people are gonna think I'm a vampire.
All right. Well, you enjoy your evening, but it's nearly like 5:10 to 6 almost in the evening. So I'm just gonna chill out. I mean, that's it. Like, and yeah, it's just like in this world, I fucking hate it.
But by the way, vampires have something to do with this too. This is all vampirical crap too. All right, I'm not jumping into that, but that's pretty crazy. As it is. Well,
I like to be an 8D RAM, thank you. In my own little bubble full of love and healing, inner peace. That's what I want.
That's the story of Cain and Abel. That's the story of the cannibal. All right.
Oh, that's off this world, isn't it?
Yep, duality. All right. Blessings, guys.
Enjoy that sunshine. Send some this way, please.
Nice. Do you know I see Jesus in rainbows and flowers? Rainbows and flowers and suns.
Oh, lilies as well. Lilies are indigenous to Italy as well, actually.
Lily.
Yeah.
There's a story of like a man after Lilith.
Lily, a specific lily, and the lily that Jesus was talking about in Matthew chapter 5, it's indigenous to Italy.
No way. What about Lilith after
right,
the first man? The man after Lilith. The first man after Lilith. Lilith.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Lily.
Right.
Yeah, Lilith. Got it. All right. Blessings.
Love you guys.
Love you
Love you.
guys. Enjoy your
Okay.
weekend.
All right.